Xander Bogaerts, you know where it's going. Obviously, there was a lot of conversation, there is still, about should they give Xander Bogaerts an ovation for tomorrow night, fans that are going to be at the ballpark. And I'll be there, and I'm not going to be gatekeeping. I hate that.
Yeah, yeah.
And you can do it's one thing if we're going to be all like, hey, let's all boo Xander. That's different.
Yeah.
But if we're all saying, hey, why not cheer for him? We can't take back the contract. He's one of us. We want him to do well at the end of the day. What will it hurt to cheer for him and see what happens?
100%.
I don't think it's a big deal. Just your thoughts on maybe a Xander ovation tomorrow, first at bat at Petco Park. I feel like that's going to be what a lot of people are going to be looking to- forwards forward to going
Yeah.
into tomorrow, seeing if it happens or not.
I'm curious how much this has gotten onto like the general zeitgeist of Padres fans, like you and
Yeah,
I, who follow these things intimately, who are on Twitter and social media. Um, I'm curious, like of the 45,000 people that will be in the stands on a Friday night, how many of them are clued in onto this? I mean, obviously, there's a decent amount. I feel like I'm from Philadelphia. I follow all the media outlets. I don't really watch the Phillies really closely. I catch some highlights here and there, but it seemed like with Turner last year that there was a ton of buildup, and
like
obviously this is kind of
radio buildup, like WIP buildup,
yes,
or okay,
yes, WIP 100%, who is kind of like the mouthpiece, and it seemed like there was more time. Even like it seemed like this was something people were talking about longer, and maybe that's not the case. And I might be misremembering this, but I seem to remember it really being a thing, like a clear thing going into that game. Whereas, I'm curious, like a couple days out, when people start to have this conversation, come with an idea, which I think is a great idea. There's no downside to it whatsoever. I'm curious how much I'm sure Trey Turner knew about it before it happened last year, I would guess. I'm curious, like, will Xander have any idea that this could possibly happen, and what will his reaction be? I'm interested from that standpoint. I think why not? It can't hurt. I'm sure he'd appreciate it, especially talking to him, and just like he's a good guy. He's a pro, and goes about his business the right way. So I'm sure that would mean something to him. Also, hitting leadoff too. Well, this is assuming he's hitting leadoff. So maybe that takes, if he's hitting like fifth, and you're just getting kind of like smattering of applause for everybody as they come up, and then a standing ovation for the guy hitting fifth, then it seems super random. It's still going to seem random, but the fact that it's like the first guy that's up for the Padres that night, might make it seem a little bit less kind of out of the ordinary, out of nowhere. But a long way of saying go for it. There's no downside to it whatsoever. You might think it's a little cheesy, but it can't hurt, and it's a show of support for a guy who's going to be a Padre for a long time. So I don't see any downside to it.
yeah, totally agree.